Welcome to Beyond Rockets. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Clark Dunn and I'm your host. Get ready to enjoy some awesome conversations from Huntsville locals about cool work they are doing right here in the Rocket City. You can connect with us on social media at Beyond Rockets, and if you're interested in doing a podcast yourself, I'd love to hear from you. You can visit my website, beyondrockets.com today, or connect with me on LinkedIn at Clark Dunn. Sit back and enjoy this episode of Beyond Rockets.
Everything I liked except the way she talked to me every day.
This episode is sponsored by Yellowhammer Brewing. Yellowhammer is a local craft brewery serving Huntsville for the past 14 years. They are known for their premium craft beers like their T-Minus and Rebellion, but what you might not know is they also offer spirits, wine, seltzers, and non-alcoholic drinks. Next time you stop by their location, try one of their seasonal cocktails made with the Gemini Bourbon or the Yellowhammer Vodka, or try this year's big hit Pineapple Punch Seltzer. You can find out more information about Yellowhammer Brewery by visiting their website, yellowhammerbrewery.com, or visiting their tap room located at Campus 805. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's really good to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. Would you like to introduce yourself and we'll get started there?
Okay, so my name is Alison Kling and I am the CEO at Free to Teach. And we're a free teacher supply store here in Huntsville with a really powerful story that I'm excited to share. So thank you.
I'm excited. So talk a little bit about your journey to get here to Huntsville. Are you originally from here or kind of what brought you here?
Yeah, so I'm from the West Coast originally, so Canada and the US. And I went to college in Canada in Vancouver. And a friend of mine told me about Teach for America, which is a really awesome teaching program where you kind of pause before you go to whatever's next after college. And you take a few years to teach in a classroom. And so it was such a powerful time of my life. I taught in Brooklyn. And I lived on the Upper East Side in Manhattan.
What was that transition like?
It was wild. I mean, I literally showed up to Newark Airport. I flew in with a suitcase and just knew like I was starting this new life, right? Like I didn't know where my apartment was going to be, where my job was going to be yet. It was just, you go to Institute there in Queens and you interview and a school will hire you. And then you go through the training, master's degree. And I found my roommates at Institute. We rented an apartment. I mean, it was just like, a switch really flipped and it was so fun to teach. And I loved that experience. And then I met my husband, David, in New York City. He was a banker on Wall Street and we both decided to go to grad school. So we went to Princeton Seminary and I studied kind of, looking at nonprofits and faith-based nonprofits and the intersection there. And then we moved to Huntsville in 2016.
Yeah. And so what was that like growing up on the West Coast, going to teach in New York and then now moving to Alabama. Was that something you were excited for the move? Did you have any like preconceived idea about what Huntsville was like, or was it all kind of a new thing?
Well, I think that my story is really, I did move a lot growing up several times. And then before, during and after college, I traveled a lot. So I worked in East Africa. I did a program when I was in New York at Oxford, looking at refugee studies and forced migration studies. So I've had just a lot of really interesting experiences. I've had the opportunity to see the power of kind of hitting the ground running with people that are already there doing the work and being a friend to what's already happening and kind of bringing what I can offer, but just coming as a learner into so many situations. So the Alabama story was fun. I mean, we were looking at churches around the country and then he was looking at a church that was larger to become an associate pastor at. So we wanted to kind of compare a few churches around the country and we found Covenant where we love. And so we've been here now for 8 years. And I think the piece that's been so special is we did have some family here. And so, I didn't move here with like a sense of the South. Like I honestly, I'm going to sound, okay, what's that movie about Alabama? And I think it's Reese Witherspoon. Anyways,
Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, maybe Sweet Home Alabama. And that was like kind of all I knew about Alabama.
It was the only thing.
And then I married David. So I knew his family and I'd been to their lake house and we had a wedding here. So I had kind of a sense, but no, I was excited. I really was. I mean, New York is cold. It's cold. And I love it because I think once you start having kids, you kind of just need a park and a Target, right? Yeah. Like you're in the trenches with kids. That's all you need. So it's been fun to be here. I love Huntsville. I really do. And we didn't even know what we were getting into and how great this city was going to be when we got here.
Yeah. So when you first got here, were you still teaching, or were you just at home with kids, or like, what was that? What was that first, what were you doing when you first got here to Huntsville, and kind of when did the opportunity, or when did you find out about Free to Teach?
Yeah. So when I got to Huntsville, I had just had a baby. He was 3 months old, little George. And we basically, David started church. I wasn't working and I started volunteering. So I volunteered with a really great nonprofit called The Vine, which is a Christian counseling center. And I helped them with their fundraiser.
Okay.
And then I
I've
started
been to that
to meet
fundraiser
people.
quite a few
It's
times.
a great fundraiser.
Yes.
I helped run it for that year, several years ago. And someone at church at Covenant worked at Free to Teach, Linda Brower, and she was so good. And she was leaving to start her own company. And then Susan Pendergrass at our church was like, Allison, you need to go talk to Linda. You need to go. So Susan really helped kind of bridge that. And it was fun. I went and interviewed with Eula and her board chair then, Alison Kling, who's a friend. And, I walked into the space and I didn't know what to expect. When I taught in New York, there was this program called Project Cicero where you could go fill a suitcase with books. And that's kind of where I got my class library.
Yeah.
Right. So I had kind of an experience that was powerful like that. But when I got to the store, it was like a little Staples, it was so cute, little merchandise. And I left that interview. I loved Eula. I loved Allison. I talked a bit about my strengths and fundraising and what I like to do. I had served on boards in my 20s. So I had done some fundraising from that side. And I just, I left that interview, and it's funny. I still remember that drive home. I don't want to say dread, but it was like, I knew I was going to do it. If she offered me the job, it wasn't dread. It was more just like, wow, this is going to be a lot of work. This is a powerful organization.
Around what year was this?
I saw it. 2017.
2017 is like you just gotten here.
Yeah.
You're already kind of.
No, I think we moved here in 2016. So this was a year after we moved.
Okay.
So I'd been here
Still
a year.
Fresh.
I'd been volunteering.
Okay.
But I was ready to take a step. So it was more just it was just this sense. Like I had this like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do this job and it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to be a lot of fun. And Eula's amazing. And so when she called and offered me the job, I was really excited to start with her and learn from her and the organization.
So for those who maybe aren't familiar with Free to Teach, what is Free to Teach?
Yeah. So it's so simple yet so transformative. It's powerful. Free to Teach, Eula had taught for 35 years and, she was the teacher that everybody wanted. And she would drive all over North Alabama to find resources and supplies for her kids. And so when she and some friends came together, she had retired from teaching, and our origin story is our infamous box of binders.
Okay.
So there was this box of binders, and they were trying to think, how can we get this to a school? Unless you have a child in the schools, it's hard to know exactly how to make an impact.
And like, where do you just like drop it off?
Yeah, like you just
that's kind of weird.
Hey, I've got a box of binders. So that's really where it was born, this kind of vision to kind of gather supplies in a space, invite teachers to come shop. And in that first year, they gave away $38,000.
Wow.
And this past year, in our 14th year, we gave away $1.74 million.
Wow.
So that's a total of almost 14 million. We're at 13.9. So, I think it's powerful. And when I first kind of interacted with the organization, I'm very interested in how language shapes an organization and how common language around missional impact shapes what we do. And I've really had so much fun with our team and our board, kind of focusing in on our language and on the power of our model. So when I first got there, it was very focused on, we're giving supplies to children, which we are. And that is the goal. The goal is really equity and excellence for kids. But how we get there, I think, is just important. And how we get there is through the teacher. And so really helping us understand, our mission is to get supplies into the hands of kids and support teachers, right? Take financial burden off. Our vision, why we're doing this, is equity and excellence for kids and empowerment and support for teachers. But the theory of change, the roadmap, the way we get there is really unique. We're the only teacher resource center in the state. I think there's a closet in Dothan. I always try to say that. I need to call that guy. What are you doing down there? So it's a powerful model that we prioritize the relationship, the teacher-student relationship. And so when we're giving that pencil, we're not giving that pencil to a kid. Kids can't come shop with us. Families can't come shop with us. We are focused on impacting public school children through the person that knows them the best. And that person is going to be able to give them those supplies in a way that doesn't make them feel bad, whether it's like a backpack or pencils, and then even beyond that, I think the excellence piece. So equity is important, right? Every kid should have what they need, and not every kid can afford that. Not every family can afford the Target list. And then the excellence piece has been very fun to layer in over the years, just really high quality supplies that teachers can use to transform lessons and to engage kids, to kind of raise the playing field for education in our region.
Yeah. And so when you first took on the role with Free to Teach, it seems like every year y'all have continued to grow. What was sort of the impact you had your first year, and then kind of what is the projected impact this year in 2025?
That's a great question, Clark. Thank you. So yeah, that's a great question, because that really, as a board and as a staff team and a volunteer team, when I first came on, Eula had sadly passed away in 2020. And, it was, I read books all the time on transition and on growth and on succession and scale. And I think when I reflect now, I think we made some really strong moves. The board was doing a great job. And, so I came into that role, and that first year was just kind of where are we at, right? So when we opened, it was core classroom teachers only. And it was every other month they could come and access the resources. And so I really right away wanted to remove every other month, because I knew teachers wouldn't suddenly, we wouldn't have a run on everything because they are busy. But I was a teacher, and I remember, I don't remember what I ate for lunch, let alone when I was at Free to Teach last, right? I mean, we obviously have a reminder system, but just kind of starting to remove barriers. And then, in my experience as a teacher, I know that the entire ecosystem of the school is funded differently. Your speech therapist is funded a little differently than your core classroom teacher, than your school nurse, than your long-term sub. So I really wanted to start to remove those barriers to access too. And so as funding grew and community partnerships grew, we were able to do that. So speech therapists can come shop. I mean, my son is in speech therapy, right? And his teacher has access. That's powerful. School nurses, we opened up. That was kind of the final straw. I was so pleased. There's 90 school nurses, and we just really want them, we don't have all the medical stuff. They get that. There's funding there, of course, but just the extra things that can, if you're sick and you're going to be in the clinic, it's nice to have that. So I think that was powerful. So we really kind of ripped off the Band-Aid. We just opened up to pretty much every adult in the school building across 88 public schools.
Wow.
That's 55,000 children in our 3 public school systems. And, that has been powerful. So we see about 55% of teachers shop with us. It varies, 55 to 65. Not every teacher is coming in. Not every, speech therapist is coming in. But, I think there's a lot of excitement and joy around a place that's for teachers. And I think the financial piece is important to understand. So, nationally, teachers spend on average between $750 and $1,000 out of pocket.
Wow.
There is school funding here. So that ranges from $500 to $900. But then again, like I said, the ecosystem is different. And then there's some restrictions on that funding. I don't always get in the weeds on that, because I know schools are doing their best. I know everyone's pulling together, but really at the end of the day, teachers do spend out of pocket. And so that's a piece we really want to alleviate, but then we want to go above and beyond. And I think that a powerful story that we're also telling is a story of sustainability. We've sourced about 85% of our product that we give away is in-kind donations, which means that's someone bringing a chair they don't want anymore. That's someone bringing a bookshelf. That's us sourcing. We got $80,000 in Scholastic books that were donated. We pick up from Walmart twice a week. I say we, Craig picks up from Walmart. Craig, if you're watching this, Craig does. He's a volunteer with us. And Walmart used to throw away some of the stuff or try to resell it. But if it's got returned and there's, a missing screw in a shelf, we take that shelf and we fix it and we get it on the floor.
Wow.
So just in the last 6 months, we've gotten $72,000 of Walmart items.
Wow.
And that's high impact. That's a lamp for a classroom, for a quiet corner, and then that allows teachers to use their state money really strategically. So go buy the microscope. I'm not going to have it. Go buy the printer ink. a core supply that we'll probably never get away from is copy paper. It can be very expensive for teachers. So I don't want them using their state funds when they get them for copy paper, right? Let me, we'll handle that. And you go buy the unique items that you need.
Yeah. So how has, as you know, every year, the technology continues to increase, the ways in which teachers are reaching students changes from when you were teaching in New York to the way people are teaching.
Yeah.
Teachers are kind of adapting their classroom to teach now.
Mm-hmm.
Has Free to Teach continued to evolve with what it offers and kind of trying to meet the teacher where they are?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Wow, Clark. Wow. Yeah, this I love. So Free to Teach has always been very teacher focused as far as how do we adapt? How do we move forward? And I think our posture is listening to the teacher and hearing their needs. And so I'll give you an example. When we opened up to school nurses, it was so fun to meet with the school nurses and school nurse leaders and kind of understand what the challenges were. And in partnership with our school nurses and our teachers, we created a feminine hygiene program. It's just a really simple kit with everything a girl would need to stay in class and move forward with their day. I mean, we don't realize that can be a financial struggle for some. Another example is just understanding some of the different needs that they had around sensory items. So our mid-year surveys are showing that that's one of the number one requested items that teachers have. And so we've really created this program that's fun. It's called Creative Classrooms. And it's just like really interesting fidgets and just unique items to keep kids engaged. And I think, I was at the State of the Schools this morning and the teachers were talking there. And one of the teachers said, people don't realize it really is the little things that matter. It's the Kleenex when kids are sneezing. Yeah. It's the Expo markers. And that was powerful for me to hear. I always love that. Like all these little things really do make a difference. But the programs that have done the best are really the teacher driven programs where we've leaned in, we've given them space with our teacher advisory council or whatever it is to just speak to some of the needs they're seeing. And then a program I'm super proud of that's growing. This is a funny story. I was on a plane. I have 4 kids and I had a baby and I think the baby was probably screaming and I was pacing the aisle. I'm sure everyone loved that. And I saw these guys working on like a PowerPoint and it said education in Alabama. And I was like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And we were like there was like a storm. We were circling Phoenix. It was terrible. So anyways, I leaned over and I got their cars and we talked for a minute and then we met and that's Daniel Tate and Laurel Esposito at Energy Alabama.
Wow.
So their policy, they do a lot of energy stuff, but they have this brilliant website with all these really great K through 12 energy lessons. And I was like, our teachers downloading these. And so we work together to build out some of the best lessons in a lesson kit. And we call it our Free to Explore program.
Okay.
I keep it. And our feminine hygiene program is called Free to Learn.
There you
so
go.
I'm keeping it in the umbrella. And that program has grown. So we have K through 12 energy kits. We co-wrote a grant and PPG funded that, Northrop Grumman as well. The botanical gardens, we just finalized a partnership where we're doing garden kits and helping promote their PDs they do for teachers. We worked with Blue Origins Club for the Future, and we built out these really fun rocket launch kits. So, there's just a lot of opportunity there. Our schools are already doing so much. There are STEM programs at our schools that are powerful and amazing. But I think what's so neat is just getting more directly into the hands of teachers that's ready to go. Everything's cut. All the wires ready, all the batteries are ready, all those little things we don't think about. 8 hours is a long day. That's a lot of lesson and that's a lot of units. The other thing I'm really proud of is our books. We've never purchased any books, but we've given away just last year, 32,000 books.
Wow.
So that's interesting. That's unique. That's like making sure teachers don't have to drive to 15 different bookstores and thrift stores, right? That's centralizing it. So I think I'm painting that picture of like, this is a powerful organization in so many ways because it builds bridges for so many people to connect to public education. And public education is a powerful promise that we make that we're going to take these kids and no matter what, they're walking through our doors, they're our kids and we get to educate them. That's incredible. So it's fun to come alongside that in this very tangible way.
Yes, for sure. And I would assume, with Eula starting this and the connections she has in the community, building those bridges between organizations and you as a nonprofit, we're kind of already established. How much of this success over the last few years since you became a part of Free to Teach, has those connections really furthered the growth and the expansion to even an expansion that is building a bridge to another part of North Alabama?
Yes. Drum roll, please. We are expanding. So tomorrow, and I know this will probably air just after that. We have a press conference announcing our expansion.
Wow.
And so this has just been, oh my goodness. Oh, I'm going to cry. It's been so powerful to build to this moment. And like I said, I'm so interested in scale. I'm so interested in organizational growth and how you do that in partnerships and in communities. So this was a dream for a long time. And at the announcement tomorrow, we are going to share that we're opening our doors, our current location, to support all teachers and school staff in Limestone County's 2 public school systems.
Wow.
So that's 20,757 children. That's over 1,000 teachers and staff that will have access, and that's 25 schools. So that will grow our footprint to serving 113 schools.
Wow.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah.
And that has been amazing. I mean, Athens is an incredible community. Limestone, it's a beautiful county, close knit. I feel like everyone's related. I'm like, every time I talk to someone, I'm like, wait,
have you met this person yet? Yeah, it's like, well,
wait, that's my aunt. What? No, I'm kidding. But no, they're so fun. They're so wonderful. Getting to know Dr. Shearhouse and Beth Patton, the supers over there. And, I think that has been so powerful. So, basically the story there is, and I'll say this in my speech tomorrow, is that this was always a dream you and I talked about, right? What would it look like? What would it look like to take this to the next level? And so it's special to be able to be taking these steps. But yeah, I mean, I did a Leadership Huntsville, the flagship program, and they took us on a bus over there, and it was a long day, and I loved it. And my father-in-law's been the interim pastor there at First Pres.
Okay.
So I've gotten to know the community. My kids go to church there sometimes with them. And I saw it from the perspective of leadership. And then I got this Facebook message about a year ago from a teacher. And I love thinking about this as I've thought about what I want to say tomorrow, because we really are a teacher. We center our organization on the needs of the teacher because we feel that they know best the needs of the child. And so she said, hey, I used to shop at Free to Teach when I taught in Madison County. What would it take? What would it take?
Yeah.
Like, I know, you're not open now. What would it take? So we started to have that conversation. And then I brought it to the staff and to our board, of course. And my favorite thing I did, I need to call Steve at Huntsville City engineer, Steve Perkins. He's a main part of the story. He made me this really beautiful GIS map of North Alabama, and he put every public school on the map. And don't tell my board I told you this, but there are 454 schools, soon to be 455 schools in North Alabama.
Wow.
And, if I don't get a call from somebody every other day, right?
Yeah.
Needing supplies, but we want to scale carefully, and we want to really think strategically about what partnering looks like and what the model could look like. And there's a lot of ways to go. So I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but I think that vision is in the water for me and for our team. But as we looked at it, as Hannah reached out to me, that teacher, Limestone was a real natural fit. It will be a bit of a drive for some. So we'll look at different ways of distribution, but to start, we'll just open our doors. And it's exciting. It's Huntsville's like annexing half of that. We're already over there. But it's a powerful, sweet community, and it's growing very quickly. So, when I met with the supers, I met with leadership there, I met with teachers there over the past many, many months. And there's just been a lot of joy and excitement. I know we're one piece of the puzzle. I think we're a really good piece, but I understand there's so much that it takes to reach a child. There's so many people throughout the day. There's so many systems in place. And so really to be partnering with what's already happening is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I think that what I see from my perspective is that regionalism is the way to go, connecting across North Alabama. I think that's happening in a lot of nonprofits. That's in the water. That's a conversation. It's a big move for us.
Yeah.
I have a lot of dreams, but I'm proud of us. It's taken a lot. And your question about Eula is a good one. She obviously had such a powerful platform, and is such a connector. We miss her a lot. And I learned so much from her, and the way she just No one was a stranger. You know, she had nicknames for everybody and she remembered them all. You know, she was a connector. And so we definitely had a strong foundation, but as a team and as a board, we've grown 5X in our budget.
Wow.
You know, so we've really grown, and we've really brought in partners. And what I always tell people, you know, we got a big gift from Meta this past year and we had a press conference. It's my second press conference now.
There you go.
I'm an old hat.
Seasoned veteran.
Thank you. You know, I think it was powerful to share with those original people that stood beside her, you know, with the box of binders.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is their story and this is because of their investment and hard work. And so I think that's what's so fun about the life of a fundraiser is thanking and empowering and then sharing vision and doing that all at the same time. It's exciting. But it's all relationships. That's what it is. And so building on Eula's relationships, thanking people has been powerful, and drawing more people in because I get to see what it means. You know, if I'm having a bad day, if you're having a bad day, actually go to Lehman Ferry Road, for anyone watching. Well, you could sign up online and check a teacher out on Tuesday or Thursday. There's 60 on Tuesday, soon to be 75 because we're increasing capacity, 75 on Tuesday, 75 on Thursday, 130 on Saturday.
Wow.
Go check a teacher out and talk to them about what they're going to do with the fuzz ball that they found. You know, it's interesting. Because I think that when you can really see that impact, I don't get into classrooms as much as I would like, but it's so special when a teacher emails me a picture of what they did. We had a teacher at Lehigh do a Barbie bungee jumping math lesson with all these rubber bands we got from Walmart. I mean, that's interesting. That's a unique way in. It's not the only way, but it's a unique way and it's powerful.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how I feel like with this the growth that you've had, the growth that Free to Teach has had, and then pairing that with the growth that Huntsville has had, do you think it's a direct correlation for the success that you've had for Free to Teach with the growth and the impact that the growth that Huntsville as a whole is having? Yeah,
absolutely. You know, I think there's a lot of energy. There's so much positive energy around philanthropy in this community. You know, I came from New York City where I did fundraising as a board member, and, you know, coming here, I feel like it's more philanthropic. It's more in the water. I mean, there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of powerful nonprofits telling really wonderful stories. You know, I love kind of zooming out to what's happening across the country. And I see that there's other teacher centers around the country. We're actually coming together to create a teacher resource collective.
Oh, wow.
So we can share product and stuff like that. So I see this energy happening around the country and I get to compare notes. And I keep coming back to the fact that so many people in Huntsville, it's like they see what this can be. It's not the stereotypical Alabama, you know, sometimes people have this negative connotation with what's happening in education. Education in the South is incredible right now. You know, we have test scores that have just come in. Mississippi's grown, Alabama's grown. There's a lot of positive energy. People are moving here. And what we want to do is continue to like connect people to this work. So like I was speaking yesterday at Martin Fed, and they did a grant through the Community Foundation for us. You know, I'm speaking tomorrow for the Rotary in Limestone County. I think it's about growing any revenue source is about the connections and seeing really that it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know, a conversation that I might have today, like the call I just took, is maybe in a year going to come to fruition around a gift. And so I think it's just staying connected. And then connecting my staff and my board and, you know, our volunteers, you know, together in the work that we're doing. So I don't know if I answered that question, but I do. I think there's a lot of energy around philanthropy. And I think that what has really driven our success, though, has got to be our focused storytelling and our focused impact story. I think that drives change. I'm really into the idea of alignment. I think organizational alignment is powerful.
For sure.
When you connect that mission with that vision and explain why your way of getting there is a really great way. I think our way of getting to kids is great. Get to them through the teacher, support them through the teacher. I think telling that story is super powerful. And, you know, some people might give because their mom was a teacher. Some people might give because they know that there's students in need. People come at it from a lot of angles. But it's fun. It's fun to connect people to public ed. I think
Yeah.
it's powerful.
I think that alignment factor too, it's easy, especially as an organization as a whole or any organization, company, nonprofit, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
If you don't have that alignment in place and you have people that are doing their roles that are really talented at their roles,
Yeah.
but don't really know what the overall vision or the purposes of what they're doing,
Yeah.
then you're all kind of rowing the boat in the wrong direction.
That's right.
You're not going in the same direction. Cause like you have like your perspective on what needs to be done. And if it's not relayed to the people below you,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to get there. And you're going to be like, why aren't we where we need to be?
Yeah.
It's like, well, because no one knows where we want to be.
And I think that's so good, Clark. That's exactly it. And I think it's about anytime you grow or scale. I love this book called Unreasonable Hospitality.
Amazing book.
Have you read that
Oh
book?
yes. So good.
He's so good. I steal his stuff all the time. Don't tell Will. Don't tell Will. Guardia?
I think so.
Sorry. Anyways, he talks about how when you scale anything, you want to protect the thing that allowed you to scale in the first place. And when I wrote the letter to our volunteers, I mean, I talked to so many of them, but we have a lot of volunteers. When I wrote the letter about the expansion, I said that. I said, I think for you all to understand that your volunteerism, your energy and time, hours and hours in our 10,000 square foot warehouse full of Walmart finds that we have to sort. That they do such a good job. And I said, we really want to nurture and thank you as our volunteers because your energy has paved the road to Limestone.
Yeah.
Really. It's paved the road to expansion.
For sure.
And I think that what I never, shy away from in fundraising is talking about the operational costs of running a business that is our nonprofit. And, because of the funding that we're able to get to keep the lights on, to retain our staff, to celebrate our volunteers, we're able to sort through $1.5 million of in-kind donations a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So we spend every dollar into $9 of output for our kids. So, those are interesting stories to tell. And it's fun. It's fun to bring people with you, but you're right. I mean, my favorite moments, we really have worked to create a culture of joy for the teacher, right? They've taught all day. And then they drive to our little warehouse on Lehman Ferry Road and it's our big warehouse. And, it's quite, some shops are real quiet. People are just going around in their carts. It's literally like a Staples. It's so fun. And they're going around and making their choices and looking through all the items. And, our volunteers have created that culture because of Jennifer, who leads our store. And, Ryan leads a lot of our programs and Beth does a lot of our grants. So we're a staff of 4 giving away almost $2 million a year because of our volunteers and our supporters. But my favorite stories are when they come say, Allison, this teacher had taken this extra, foam board, but I gave it to her. I said, just take it. We know you need it. It's like, just like creating that culture of joy and hospitality.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. And then that spreads to the teachers. They get to make choices. It's fun. It's the end of a long day. It's a fun place.
Yeah. And so I think too, it's, you're able to see that sort of not camaraderie, but just these teachers that maybe don't know of other teachers from other schools,
that is
being
so
able
good.
to interact with them while they're shopping for their needs. Cause it's
my
like the
goodness.
needs of one teacher at one school is not the needs of another.
I know,
And so you're able to
that's
kind of
it.
meet them where they are. Obviously this week and last week and maybe the next couple of weeks, your schedule is a little different than it typically is with all the press releases and stuff like that. What does a typical, day in a life look like?
Oh, I did that once on a social post. I'm all over social media all the time. You know this. Okay. So I'll give you a day in the life. Well, I'll give you today.
Okay.
So, I had a lot of meetings yesterday. So then I got home late, got up today. It's about 3:45, 4 o'clock.
Okay. Is
I
that
get up
normal?
very early. Mhm.
Okay.
And I read for about an hour. I always love to see the kids get up. I'm like, who's going to be first?
Yeah.
This morning it was Jack.
Okay.
Okay. He's 2. Then Lucy. I don't get up that early every day, but a lot of days I do. David will tell you. I have coffee and then I get the kids settled in their show and I'm going through emails and checking my schedule. This morning I was at the State of the Schools. That was at the VBC. And then I had a Zoom meeting with a partner in Indianapolis and that's with our collective hub. So, getting all those resources from around the country. I finalized the press release for tomorrow. I dealt with an issue at the warehouse where we have this really high dock. So we're trying to get some safety We want to work with, we're going to work with Turner Construction to make sure there's like a gate, like, we don't want people
just
rolling
falling
off.
off.
Yeah. It's just this one part of the dock. They built a ramp for us. So it's been fun to work with them. They're so cool. And, then I dealt with like 2 policy things we have to do. I looked at our insurance policy. I had another call with a donor. I finalized the run of show for tomorrow's press conference. I'm meeting with you. After this, I'm going to go to the store. We have a teacher shop tonight. And while they're shopping, I'm going to finalize all of our, stuff for tomorrow because I'm speaking at the Rotary right after I do the press conference. And then I'll go home at 7, which is crazy. But yeah, I think that's what's so fun is that you never know what your day is going to be like. There's some feeling. There's a feeling though, I think in the nonprofit sector where we don't always pause to really celebrate and like really live in the moment of the power of what we're doing now. There's so much growth and vision and, there's so much you could do. You're really, as a leader of a nonprofit, you are, you're driving some of that vision. And so I think that there's a tendency to just always want to do more. But I think that one of the things that's kind of held me to kind of keep a sense of almost like watching, I don't want to be creepy, but like kind of almost watching, like looking down from above, right? Or like
a
everything
bird's
that's
eye
happening.
view of what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that through reading, through my 4 a.m. wake ups, it really does help. I just read the journey of the journey of leadership. They talk about leading yourself first before you can lead others. That's powerful. I read the life cycle of the CEO. He talks a lot about aligned communication because you don't want to be a micromanager, right? You want to trust your teams, and how you shape your team is through language, through the power of alignment. And that allows them to self-monitor and to really drive their own change within their structure of what they do. So I think from my perspective, like just staying engaged with literature, I love to read the paper, even if it's just a page before Lucy wakes up screaming, Lucy. I think that really helps. So then when there's a crazy day, you almost have this framework to kind of think through things. You're like, oh, that's something that they were talking about here. I went to, I was speaking at this all hands earlier this week and they were talking about scale.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the reason we can scale is because every single one of our engineers brings value to every customer interaction. And I was like, it was like I was living a Wall Street Journal article. So, I mean, I am so privileged to do what I do on behalf of teachers and kids because I just get inspired at every turn. I love doing the work, but I like thinking about the work I'm doing. And I think you have to do both
for sure
to probably grow and drive change.
Yeah. I think the ability to work on and in the business is so important, and being able to it's a hard thing to do adequately sometimes because it's easy to get one or the other.
Yeah.
Especially with hectic days, you're working in the business more.
Yes.
And you don't get the time to kind of step back and say, hey, how's business going?
Yeah.
But then when you have those moments, it's making sure you can capitalize on, okay, what am I doing in the business and how can I capitalize on working on it to make it better?
Yeah.
As someone who does read, I try to read a decent amount. I read a lot of business books. That's kind of my thing. There's there's a lot around us.
Book club.
Yes,
book club.
for sure. If you had 3 books that you would recommend, what would those 3 books be?
Okay. So my favorite, right, that's really shaped my year is called Give and Take by Adam Grant.
Okay.
And that is so powerful. He talks about how when you're a giver, when you share ideas, when you share your partnerships, that's really what drives change. You looked at medical school students, the best ones were the ones who didn't share their notes in first year and went to the library and were in their cubicle. Yeah. But they didn't do as well in the 4th year because in the 4th year, you're doing collaborative projects. Yeah. You're like, I don't know what you're doing. You're doing something. You're doing something with health, I'm assuming, with bodies. So I love that book. And, that's been really powerful for our in-kind products that we're getting. It's because we're sharing with other distribution centers around the country. That's driven our partnership with other nonprofits like the Huntsville Botanical Gardens. I was in a meeting with a foundation and they were talking about their giving priorities. And I was listening and I was like, have you heard of this nonprofit? Not to make myself seem so amazing, but I really did. I thought, oh, I had just met with this other nonprofit leader and that's their vision too. And I think when your vision is aligned, that's where that synergy happens. So Give and Take has been good. I really did love The Journey of Leadership. Okay. It's got a couple authors that were in charge of the McKinsey kind of leadership CEO program. And that is, I think that's really good because it talks about the journey inward before you can take the journey outward.
Okay.
And so that's really good. And yeah, Unreasonable Hospitality. It's a restaurant book, but the guy is so good.
I recommend it to everybody. Someone recommended it on a podcast to me. Cody over at Blue Oak Barbecue.
Okay.
I interviewed her with Mid Cities podcast, and she recommended that book that she encourages her entire staff to read it. Obviously in the hospitality industry, but I think from the perspective of anybody, I would highly recommend it.
And this is why I think it's so powerful, because he says in that book, no matter what business you're in, you can choose to be in the hospitality business.
Yeah.
That's a powerful
and
idea.
We're all kind of in the hospitality business.
We are. And I think, I see every interaction. Like I see the power of just kindness, openness. It can be tiring. Sometimes people as introvert, I'm not an introvert, but I imagine it can be tiring.
Yeah.
I love it. It does give me energy, but I think every person you meet, you have the opportunity to make their day better. I read this quote on LinkedIn, which I secretly love LinkedIn. Sorry. And it was like, oh, what did it say? It said, pretend that every person you see is wearing a sign around their neck that says, make me feel special.
Mm.
I just love that. I love making people feel special. I'm not always perfect at it, but I think that that's fun. And I get a lot of questions about like balance and all of those things. And I think the key for me has just been to be present. I love that Nick Saban football deal where he says, be where your feet are. I think that was Saban, be present where you are.
Yeah.
I think it honors, the people that are helping you be there, like the people watching my kids right now. And it honors the work you've done to get there. And I think, I think that's a great question about books. It's powerful to think about what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you can just find even a page, just read a page. And just, even if that's the only thing you read in a week, I have my notes app. It's an insane notes app. It's just full of quotes and ideas. And I just go through it. And it's fun, it's fun to read, and then it's fun to live it out.
Yeah. And I think you can learn a lot from the books, and they're good frameworks.
Yeah.
But real like application of things is really where you learn the most.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap things up, if a teacher's listening and they've heard of Free to Teach, they have never been a part of it, or if it's a company or an organization wanting to help you further the mission for Free to Teach, where can they connect with you and find out more information?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Free to Teach is focused on reaching public school children. So we have our access is for all public schools in Madison County and now Limestone County. I got to change my language. So if you're a teacher listening and that's you, go to our website, freetoteach.org. We just redid it. I'm proud of it. And you can make an account there really easily. And you can shop 11 times in a year.
Wow.
Yeah. We're open all year long. We close for 1 month to do inventory and sweep the floors. So go and check it out. If you want to engage like the shops I was talking about, it's a really neat way to come volunteer.
Yeah.
We get you working right away. We take large groups. So there's a volunteer section to fill out and say, hey, I'd love to bring my gals group. I'd love to come for an hour, and we'll work you in. So volunteering is powerful. I think philanthropic leadership in our community is so strong. I think that there's more we could all do together. I think if you do have a company, I think people think like that $500 or $250 isn't a lot, but for us, I mean, that means probably 3 or 4 teachers that we can fill their carts because of our ability to purchase in bulk, right? We have purchasing power, our ability to source and organize in-kind donations. So every dollar truly does make a difference. And we see it. Like every email I get, it's like a little shot in the arm. You're like, oh my goodness. So I think that's good. Our social media is hopping. So you need to follow us on social.
For sure.
I think about what I love to do. And at the shop tonight, they like laugh at me because I don't accomplish anything. I just talk to teachers. I get my notes app out and I'm like, tell me what you're up to. And so I think that's fun to center the teacher story because, you're proud of your little bungee jumping lesson.
And that's the story you're telling
tell
Free to Teach is you're telling the teacher story.
Yes. We're telling the story.
And you're having to meet, like we've said before in the episode, you're meeting the teachers, you're using the teachers to meet the students' needs.
That's right.
And so what better way to know those needs than to engage with the teachers
Exactly.
and to have these conversations and to like create this
Yes.
network. And I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn too. So I would recommend, I think that's how we got connected through a couple different things, but I'm connected with you on LinkedIn for a while now.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend that. We'll be sure to have everything in the episode notes. So if anyone's wanting to find out more information.
Absolutely. And, supply drives are a fun way to engage. That's a super fun way. I had this tour the other day and it was, someone came in, he said, I feel like I've been here. And I'm like, yeah, I post about it a lot. So that was high praise for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's a great way to engage. There's so many powerful nonprofits. I think wherever your heart, whatever your vision is, find something that aligns with that. If equity and excellence and teacher support is your vision, I've got it in for you.
Free to teach is for you.
Yeah, there's so many ways to give back. And I love all my nonprofit colleagues. So find a way to engage and find a way to expand your skill set, maybe to a nonprofit.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being here today. I enjoyed it. It was great learning more about the mission, the vision, and of what Free to Teach is doing. And I think the impact you've had with Free to Teach is evident. So I'm excited to see what the next few years look like. I think the expansions are not going to slow down.
Thank you.
I think you're going to be reaching more and more.
I have that map. I have Steve Perkins'
there
map.
You go.
Steve.
And so I think, being able to expand and see the impact you'll have not only in Madison County now, but also in Limestone and maybe even more. We'll have to have you back on the podcast in a couple of years to talk about all the new things. Cause it's always
months, Clark.
It's always changing. It's always changing, but we'll be sure to have everything in the episode notes, but I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Beyond Rockets. Don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen and on YouTube at Beyond Rockets. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Beyond Rockets to stay up to date with new episodes as they are released. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.